You're drinking your bourbon wrong. No, you're not. But are there ways you can amp up your bourbon appreciation? Absolutely. I've done the hard work to give you some tasty alternatives that might amuse and surprise you. I'm Robert Moore. This is School of Wine and Spirits. There are people out there that will tell you how to drink your bourbon. I would avoid those people. Instead, let's explore some options and how they might increase your bourbon pleasure. We're going to go over several ways to drink your bourbon, including neat or straight up, on the rocks, or one rock, with a splash of water, or even a drop. Chilled with whiskey stones or NASA-engineered whiskey discs, mixed with a single mixer like Pepsi, Coke, or ginger ale, and finally, we're going to mix a few cocktails. I'm not here to tell you how to drink bourbon. My goal is to give you options. Personally, I like my bourbon neat, so let's talk about that. Drinking a bourbon neat exposes you to the distiller's goals and objectives when creating their bourbon and when they mingle the barrels. The vast majority of bourbon is mass-produced, and the barrels are mingled in very large batches. However, since Elmer T. Lee introduced the first single-barrel bourbon in Blanton's back in the day, we have a plethora of new products to explore. You can choose from small batch, single-barrel, barrel-proof, original-proof, bottle and bond, or just plain old mass-produced magic. So the terms small batch and single-barrel have no legal definition. The Code of Federal Regulations, or CFR, Title 27, Section 5.87a, defines barrel proof or barrel strength to mean the spirit is bottled no more than 2 proof points lower than the barrel proof. Just to complete the sections, 5.87b defines original proof, original barrel proof, original cask proof, and or entry proof to mean that the spirit must enter the bottle at the same proof as the barrel. As far as we know, this hasn't been attempted yet. Stay tuned. Finally, just to round it out, let's cover bottle and bond. In 1897, led by Colonel Edmund Haynes Taylor Jr. of E.H. Taylor Jr. fame, the first Consumer Protection Act was passed by the United States Congress in the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897. The legislation was driven by several circumstances. First, there was a greater demand for whiskey than there was production. There was a group of producers known as rectifiers who bought whiskey from anyone that would sell it, blended it, and sold it as bourbon. Some were on the up and up, some were a little bent, some were a lot bent. Since the supply of whiskey couldn't keep up with the demand, the rectifiers started blending whatever they could get their hands on into the final product and still called it bourbon. The modern-day Tax and Trade Bureau, or TTB, which governs alcoholic spirits, hadn't been invented yet. This led to an inferior product and sometimes dangerous product on the market. The Bottle and Bond Act was promulgated to defend against this inferior product. In order to be designated bottle and bond, a spirit must be produced at a single distillery in a single distilling season, January to June, July to December. This ensured all the product was the same age. It had to be aged for at least 4 years in government-bonded warehouses. This ensured there was no tampering with the product as it aged. Finally, it had to be bottled at 100 proof to prevent it being watered down. In addition, as an incentive to producers to follow this law, the Act changed the timing of taxation of the product. Prior to the Act, taxes were levied on spirits coming off the still based on the proof gallon, a gallon of spirits at 100 proof. The Bottle and Bond Act allowed the distiller to delay paying taxes until the spirit left the warehouse. That's at least 4 years tax-free. Clearly, this had a significant positive impact on the distiller's cash flow, delaying tax payments until the spirits were bottled and ready to sell, versus when they came off the still and had to age for several years. So there are plenty of options out there for whiskey drinkers depending on your taste. Some of us, particularly more seasoned bourbon enthusiasts, tend to be attracted to higher proof whiskeys. Some like lighter fare. Either way, we come to our second way of drinking bourbon, on the rocks. Pouring whiskey over several cubes of ice, or one big one, or a ball of ice, dilutes the whiskey over time. This is a great option for barrel-proof or high-proof whiskey as it modulates the heat. If you like your whiskey room temperature, you can put a splash of water in it to cut the high proof. Adding water actually causes a chemical reaction that releases new esters, aromas, and flavors from the whiskey, whether by ice or a splash of water or a single drop. This can open up a whole new experience with your favorite bourbon if you've been drinking it neat for all these years. Just add a single drop of water and watch it bloom. If you like it cold but still want the original proof and or intent of the producer, you can use whiskey stones or discs. I don't have any on me. Whiskey stones were commonly used in Scotland by grabbing a stone from a cold creek and dropping it in your whiskey. It cooled the whiskey without polluting it. Whiskey stones are readily available these days to achieve this objective. Just throw them in your freezer and pull them out when you want a cold beverage. There are some that are even made of the same advanced technical ceramic that NASA used for tiles on the space shuttle. Of course, they're FDA approved, food grade, and safe. Then again, you're dropping them in a glass of alcohol solution. What could go wrong? Next, you can mix it with anything you want. Your favorite soft drink, the juice of your choice, anything you can think of. I don't particularly like doing that with my whiskey, but what you do with yours is your business. Finally, let's mix up cocktails. The Old Fashioned is reputed to be one of the oldest mixed drinks. It's simple. Initially crafted in the 19th century as a combination of bourbon, sugar, water, and bitters. We're going to use 1 sugar cube, 2 to 3 dashes of Angostura bitters, 2 ounces of bourbon or rye whiskey, and ice in whatever form you have it, garnished with an orange peel. If you don't have sugar cubes, use a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup. We have sugar cubes, so here we go. Place the sugar cube in the bottom of a rocks glass. Wet it with a few dashes of bitters to taste. I use 3 to give it a little zing. Add a little splash of water, muddle the sugar to make a slurry, and rotate the glass so that the sugar grains and bitters give the glass a lining. Add ice or a large ice cube and pour the whiskey. Stir gently and add an orange peel. And that, folks, is a nice classic Old Fashioned. Moving on, we have a little horse race here in Louisville, Kentucky, about once a year. It's sometimes called the greatest 2 minutes in sports. You can't get through Derby season without having a refreshing mint julep. Now, there are those that adhere to a different mint julep recipe, but we aren't arguing today. We're just making the classic that you can get for a precious price at Churchill Downs on the first Saturday in May. It contains 2 ounces of bourbon, 8 to 10 mint leaves. The stuff grows around here like weeds. 1/4 ounce of simple syrup and crushed ice. Make it crushed ice because you want the drink to last longer. Lightly muddle the mint leaves and the simple syrup in a julep cup or pint glass. Add the bourbon and pack the glass tightly with crushed ice. Stir until the cup is frosted on the outside. Add more crushed ice to make a dome, and then garnish with a sprig of mint. There you have a nice, refreshing mint julep, just like the kind you'll find at the Kentucky Derby. Finally, we move to the Manhattan, a sophisticated blend of bourbon, sweet vermouth, and bitters. This cocktail debuted at the Manhattan Club in New York City in the early 1870s. It was said to have been concocted for a banquet hosted by Lady Randolph Churchill, mother of Winston Churchill. It consists of 2 ounces of bourbon whiskey, 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, 2 dashes of Angostura bitters, ice, and a maraschino cherry. You want to chill the cocktail glass. Add all the ingredients into a mixing glass filled with ice and stir until well chilled. Strain the drink into the chilled cocktail glass. Finally, garnish with a maraschino cherry. My mom and dad loved this cocktail. It never grew on me, but hey, don't let that stop you from trying it. These are just a few of the cocktail recipes out there. Fire up your Google machine, ChatGPT, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your info, and tell it what you like. I bet there'll be a cocktail out there for you. So there you go. I hope this gave you some great ideas on expanding your bourbon drinking options. We talked about drinking your bourbon neat or straight up, on the rocks, with a splash of water or even just a drop, chilled with whiskey stones or discs, mixed with soft drinks, and we even explored a couple 3 classic cocktails. I hope you explore some of these variations. You may find a new favorite drink or what to do with that Pappy Van Winkle 23 that didn't exactly blow your skirt up after you dropped $2,000 on it. Sorry, not a Pappy fan. No disrespect to those that love it. Most importantly, drink your bourbon the way you want to drink it. I didn't buy it, you did. Join our community and get in on the party. Click the link in the video description below. All your friends are there. Thanks for watching. Comment below with your favorite bourbons or any questions you have. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos. And hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Cheers.